A very good day to students of African Diaspora Part 2. I am Dr. Michael Tusa of the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine, Trinidad and Tobago. Today we shall be discussing steps to be taken in researching Africanisms in the African diaspora. At the end of this lesson, students will be able to define Africanisms, identify manifestations of Africanisms in the New World communities or a specific New World territory, and account for continuity and change in New World Africanisms. Africanisms constitute a multifaceted complex of cultural patterns and traits. It is really a broad range of concepts, customs, cultural practices, and mannerisms. And even on the ancestral continent, Africanisms could be seen as having undergone change or undergoing change. Some people speak of Africanisms as being words or practices that came from Africa to North America or other parts of the New World, but it is in fact very broad and very complex. In fact, Africanisms has many domains, and we are going to look at some of these domains, some of them tangible, some of them intangible. When we speak of the tangible domains, we are talking about food, clothing, craft, ornaments, textiles, fabrics, artifacts, various dimensions that reflect the material aspect of the culture. When we speak about the intangible domain, we are talking about those that relate to feelings and the whole question of identity, religion, linguistics, dance, proverbs, sayings, folklores, institutions, because those have to do with issues of identity, music, literature, hairstyles. It is well known today that the African diaspora is nothing short of a global diaspora. Africans have moved from time immemorial to various parts of the world. You have Africans in Europe, you have Africans in Asia, you have Africans in the South Pacific, other areas of the Pacific belt. You have Africans who would have come to various parts of the New World. Our focus today is on the New World. Africans who have found themselves in the Western Hemisphere, North America, South America, Middle America, and the Caribbean. Who are we speaking about really? Our first step is to look at the New World community or New World community and determine who are its African or West African arrivals. Trinidad provides a very good example because you have in Trinidad groups who would have come from various communities, nations, and what have you in West Africa. We have the Igbos from Southeast Nigeria, Congo, these Africans from the Congo, Africans from the Cameroons, Africans from Senegambia, Coromantins from Ghana, and among them you have the Fanti, Ashanti, and others. Africans from the Ivory Coast, from Sierra Leone, okay, Africans from Dahomey, Africans from various other parts, what is called Yoruba land, a very, very, very large complex in West Africa. It is important also to be aware of the geographical locations and what we can speak of as the nations and geopolitical zones from which they came. One of the challenges is that those zones would have names that are today significantly different. So it would be necessary to look at old maps and new maps. In the old maps, you would see places like Negro Land. In the new maps, such broad geographical domains do not exist. What you have are places like Sierra Leone, the Ivory Coast, and so on. So it is important to bridge the gap between the old and the new. Having done that, we have to return to the New World setting to discuss the Africanisms, its beginning and evolution. You would be concerned as you do your research with particular Africanisms that you will discover. Where did it begin in the New World? But of course, this against the background of the consideration of its roots in the ancestral continent. In the New World, too, you have to account for its survival and how it has changed. Why it is that it would have become the way it is. How is it different from how it first began? But critical to all of this is its African essence. And to establish its Africanity, you have to compare it with its West African heritage source, and also with what you see in other New World communities. Among this community and that community, or community X and community Y, that this is an Africanism. So it is important to forge distinct links when trying to discuss or trace the evolution or identify and account for Africanisms. Firstly, the African dimension, then the New World dimension, then the African antecedents, and in the New World, its beginnings and evolution. It's important also to make comparisons. And as you make comparisons, account for continuities and change within change. Examine both links that are tangible and links that are intangible, felt and imagined. Our focus today is on the New World. Africans who have found themselves in the Western Hemisphere, North America, South America, Middle America, and the Caribbean. In West Africa from surrounding territories. As you proceed to examine Africanisms, it is necessary for what we wish to achieve in this program for you to discuss the phenomenon with others, including groups of scholars with whom you work and with your peers who are also working on projects related to Africanism. Follow up on suggestions for site visits, artifacts, communities, and interviews. These are all sources of information. Where possible, visit relevant sites and relics where there is need to do so. It is very important to check to see what research has already been done on the topic would have chosen. The discussion of Africanism is not new. It has been in progress for some time now, and it is very important to see what other scholars have done. You may not necessarily agree with all their views, but it is important to score the data base to see what already exists and how this can be useful in the work that you are doing to further enlighten the community on Africanisms. Document those works you have consulted as you go along. Record them properly and accurately for referencing and bibliography. Do not forget that there is a time limit to this particular project. The deadline is on Thursday the 27th of this month at 11:59 p.m. Enjoy the journey.